Welcome to Policy on Demand. I'm Kevin Brown. The IRS has made a number of recent announcements regarding how it plans to use its Inflation Reduction Act funding to expand its compliance efforts, focusing on high net worth individuals, large complex partnerships, and large corporations. Nikole, Flax, and Laura Williams, both of whom recently joined us from the IRS, are here to share their insights on these recent developments and actions taxpayers could consider taking. Nikole and Laura, welcome.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
In recent weeks, there's been a lot of talk about a possible IRS shutdown. Nikole, turning to you first, it seems that this would be an inopportune time for that to happen, given the Herculean efforts the IRS has undertaken to dig out from existing backlogs and the hiring efforts that are underway right now to bring on thousands of people. What are your thoughts?
I agree. It would be an inopportune time. There are efforts all throughout the agency right now to improve, and it's hard to find a part of the agency that's not doing important work right now to either improve how they're engaging with taxpayers or working to grow enforcement. Traditionally, the IRS looks at activities that protect the government's interest and in identifying what activities will continue. So those are things like ensuring that checks are deposited or refunds are paid or statutes are protected. But when you look all over the agency, there is very important work that's happening right now. I think it would be super disruptive to progress and also just inefficient to stop progress and start again and try to expect that they'll meet some of the goals that they have in terms of what they're trying to deliver.
Thank you. And Laura, what would the impact be on the Office of Chief Counsel?
I think there would definitely be a delay in the issuance of guidance, regulatory guidance. The IRS Chief Counsel's Office, along with Treasury, have been working really hard to issue guidance on a number of statutes under the Inflation Reduction Act, and that would inevitably be delayed. There will be some attorneys at Chief Counsel who would be designated as essential, some that are working on priority guidance and others that are working on large litigation matters, because keep in mind the IRS Chief Counsel does support litigation. So those would continue, but I think for the most part, a delay in guidance should be expected.
Turning to the monies that have been appropriated for enhanced enforcement efforts and modernizing the IT infrastructure at the IRS. Nikole, how do you see those monies being spent?
Sure. So the IRS put together a strategic operating plan laying out at a high level what they are hoping to deliver over the next several years with that money. On the technology front, the initial focus has been in the service area, trying to address some of the significant pain points that taxpayers have had in taxpayer service. So focusing on improving the call sites, building online accounts, trying to move to a more digital environment. So those have been some of the initial efforts in the technology space. In the enforcement area, the IRS is obviously picking up a lot of the momentum that they need to make in that area. And there have been a number of announcements over the last 10 days or so identifying where they will be spending the enforcement funding starting now as they're actively hiring, actively looking to grow audits and taking a number of steps to make progress in that space as well.
Thank you. And Laura, how do you see the additional funds what impact are they going to have on the Office of Chief Counsel and the Office of Treasury's tax policy?
So there are funds that are designated for Office of Tax Policy and Chief Counsel for the issuance of guidance, so regulations and sub-regulatory guidance. And I would imagine that would include a lot of hiring of new attorneys in both of those offices in order to move projects forward. The priority guidance plan has been growing for a number of years now. There are projects on there from TCJA that haven't made a lot of progress. And so I think getting new attorneys into the office who can focus on moving those forward would be fantastic.
Great, thank you. And Nikole, in recent years, the IRS has actually talked about pulling back on the amount of resources that are devoted to the compliance assurance program. Recently, they've talked about expanding it and actually even including large complex partnerships. What are your thoughts on that?
I definitely see it as a positive step. The agency was intentional in looking at where they would spend the enforcement funding and recognizing that there needed to be enhancement and growth to some of the tax certainty and issue resolution programs that exist, especially in the taxpayer segments where enforcement will be growing. And so I think the CAP announcement is a great initial step there, where they're identifying, as they're going to increase exams on large partnerships, that there also may be some large partnership taxpayers who are interested in pursuing certainty earlier on and a flexibility to potentially open the program there. They've also addressed a number of external comments that have come in over the last few years to try to improve the program that the agency hasn't been able to deliver on just because of a lack of resources and an inability to significantly grow the program. So I think it is a great first step and would expect that there'll be additional changes in that space moving forward.
Great, thank you. And Laura, the IRS has announced that they want to grow the number of audits, as we mentioned, in the high net worth area and the large complex partnerships. Many of these new audits will be performed by newly hired revenue agents. Mm-hmm. What role will counsel play in supporting those efforts?
I think technical support is going to be critical. The agency is committed to hiring high-grade, experienced tax accountants as new revenue agents, but it's going to be very difficult to find thousands of new revenue agents who are really experienced and experts in Subchapter K. Subchapter K is a very complex area of the tax law. And so I think the Office of Chief Counsel will be providing a lot of hands-on support, especially in the beginning. Office of Chief Counsel does have attorneys that specialize in Sub K. They're very good, but they don't have that many of them. And so I think it's also going to be important to do more hiring of experts and tax attorneys with Sub K experience, and also focus on training within Chief Counsel and then also within the IRS.
Thank you both for joining us today, Nikole and Laura. Your insights are greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.